Hi, so my name's Sarah. I've been a software developer for 16 years. About 4 years ago, I fell down the slippery slope of playing with Arduino, which fools lots of people into thinking they can start a consumer product company. Turns out it's a little more difficult, but so I started a company called Jewelbots. Okay, so why are we here today? I'm going to show you guys some magic. I'm going to take a deep dive into the technology behind that magic and talk about building an accessible API for children. Okay, so some magic. All right, so who here has a child that is under 15 and also wants to be my friend? Okay, that is one person. There needs to be another person after her, so think about it. Come on up. Was that a hand raise? Yeah, come on up. Sorry. Hi, my name is Sarah. What's your name?
Alex, hi.
Alex, it's nice to meet you. Alex, you would like to be my friend. That's great. I'm getting married next year. Will you be able to come to the wedding?
Sure, why not?
Great, awesome. Great, set. Okay, here's your bracelet. So tell you a little bit about these guys. Jewelbots use Bluetooth to communicate to each other.
Interesting.
So you and I are going to become friends. You and I are preteen girls. We're not allowed to have phones during the day, so a different way to communicate is kind of exciting for us. So in order to become friends, so there's a button in the middle right here, and you're going to push down that button for 2 seconds. So 1 locomotive, 2 locomotive. Great. Okay, so your bracelet found mine, and you get to pick our friendship color. So if you see a color you like, hit the button in the middle. Got it. Okay, so you picked red, so now your bracelet's thinking about it, and it's like, all right, I want to be friends, and I want to be red friends. It's sending messages to my bracelet, and my bracelet's saying, okay, we're going to be red friends, great. And so now, whenever you and I are together, we are going to be red together. So you can go ahead and sit down. Thank you, Alex. Great, so I need one more person, and if you don't have any kids, okay, awesome, come on up. Hi, what's your name?
Itai.
Can you?
Joe.
Joe. Thank you, Joe. All right, Joe, you can come to my wedding next year?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Am I also preteen?
Yeah.
Okay.
My parents will be thrilled. I'm inviting people for meetups. Okay. All right, so we're going to be friends. So in order to be friends, you're going to hold down the button in the middle for a good 2 seconds. 1 locomotive, 2 locomotive. Okay. Okay, so you're going to pick our friendship color. When you see a color that you like, when you see a color you like, hit the middle button.
What's this color? Doesn't matter.
The middle button.
Oh, the middle button. All right.
All right, just hit it once. So you can let it go. Okay, awesome. I think you picked red.
Red.
Okay.
You want me to pick a different one?
I did want you to pick a different. All right, hold on 1 second.
No, I want to try.
Wait, it's gonna pair. Okay.
Let's start again.
Okay, let's start again. Okay. Right. Live hardware demo. Okay, you can have a seat. We're red friends. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So as adults, you're probably wondering, so why is this interesting and or exciting? Is the interesting part that I can see my friend is near me before I see them in person? How far is that? Is that exciting? Is it exciting that my bracelet lights up? Is that the exciting part? So we talked to over 200 girls before we built this at all. Super fun, by the way, talking to 10-year-olds all the time. They're a really great group, and we asked them what was exciting for them. And overwhelmingly, we heard from them that their friends and friendships were the most important things to them in their lives. And so when it comes to these bracelets, these have nothing to do with proximity for them. This is a sign of affection. This is how they show their friends that they love them. When they're in the room together, their bracelets light up. They get very excited. So we built them this way. Who here's if you would identify as a software or a firmware developer, raise your hand. Okay, so we have a small handful. If you started learning when you were, if you started coding when you were less than 20 years old, raise your hand. Okay, same amount of people. If you started coding when you were younger than 15 years old, raise your hand. About half. So I was a software developer for 5 years before I worked with another woman. It was another 5 years after that before I worked with another, and I was bummed about that because that's kind of lonely, and I really love my job, and I really love the career. So I wanted to figure out a way to get some more of us. And I figured out, talking to my male peers, that a lot of you guys started when you were much younger, and you started gaming, and you were like, when I want to grow up and become a game developer, and you figured out that game developers don't make any money, so you became a quant or something like that. But there really wasn't the equivalent for girls, so we set out to do this in order to do that. We wanted to be the Minecraft, but with a female slant. Minecraft has 8-year-olds running around building servers and writing Java, and now we have 7-year-olds writing C++. So those are Jewelbots. So this is Arthur Clarke's second law, which is my favorite. If you had told me 5 years ago that I would be sitting with 6 and 7-year-olds writing C++, being crazy stoked about it, I would have thought you were lying. But over the past couple years, I've learned this is something that they also truly love. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the device itself. So it's made mostly of plastics and nylon. There's a couple different plastics. I've learned, coming from software to hardware, I've learned how many different plastics there are. That is actually a crazy thing. Who knew? And we also use these nylon bands. Another thing we were learning while we were building is that little wrists come in many different sizes. It's wild how wrists changed when you're 7 years old till you're 14 years old. That was a big part of what we learned. So on the devices, we have a button. We have 4 RGB LEDs, which is capable of 2.7 million colors. We have a micro USB input, which is how you both charge the device and upload code. And we have a microprocessor called the NRF51. It's super cool. It's 4 millimeters by 4 millimeters, which is wild to me. I always say I could accidentally eat it and have no idea. I don't know how many I've accidentally eaten. But it also contains the Bluetooth chip. And the really cool thing about the NRF51, it's been around for a few years, but I don't know how many people are really familiar with how Bluetooth works. But usually, and with most of our devices are around, like our Alexas and our phones and things, when a Bluetooth device is communicating to another Bluetooth device, it can either act as a central or a peripheral device, meaning it can only receive messages or send messages. The really cool thing about this chip and what's so new and technology forward about what we've built is that the Jewelbots can have 8 simultaneous, both central and peripheral relationships. So that means that a Jewelbot can talk to 3 other Jewelbots and your Alexa and your phone and a drone all at the same time. I'm not sure why it's talking to a drone, but who knows? Maybe drones follow you. That might be your life. I don't know how you live. And that's been a really fun part of what we are building. So right now we have them talking to, you can have 16 friends, so you can be communicating with 16 friends that are near you at the same time, as well as your phone. We're working on integrations for things like Alexa. We have a lot of home dad hackers. We have a home dad hacker working on a GitHub integration so he can deploy from his Jewelbot, which is pretty awesome. But these guys can do anything an Apple Watch can do, just without a screen, except for the new Apple Watch. It can't make phone calls. So Jewelbots pair to each other using BLE. It was important to us that we build something that did not need a phone, because most of these girls maybe don't have a phone, are too young to have a phone, and we didn't want to eliminate people that were too young. Also, they all have to turn off their phones in schools. They react to the other Jewelbots when they're in range, and they enable you to communicate with each other using secret messages. I can send you guys messages just by hitting the button. And you guys should receive, well, you're in pairing mode still, sadly. If you hit your button in the middle once, you'll get out of it. Just like tap it. Yeah, you're good. Okay. 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 And they let you communicate with each other. So what happens is the girls come up with or the users come up with their own secret languages. Like they'll say, if I send you 3 buzzes, that means meet me outside. Oh, nice. Awesome. Okay, that was meet me outside. Yeah, or meet me outside, or the guy you like is behind you, watch out, or that kind of thing. So we get to hear all these stories from them, which is exciting, and you can code them using the Arduino programming environment. So that's how we set things up. Things that they code are they make really cool games. They make cool friend interactions, like when I'm near all my friends, when we're all together, our Jewelbots go and rainbow animations and very cool things like that that are fun when you're 8. And they code them using C++, which we wrote an accessible API for them to make it not as esoteric as standard C++. So we have an app as well. It makes it set up for your device a little bit easier. We built it with Cordova or Ionic. The reason why we chose not to do a native app is because they have really good Bluetooth plugins. The Bluetooth is much better than what you're building with native iOS or Android, but we're only on iPhone right now. Okay, I have 2 minutes. I'm going to make it through this. Okay, so if you know how hardware works, so you have a microprocessor on a printed circuit board, and then you have all these components on your board. So you might have a motor, some RGB LEDs, a button, and your microprocessor communicates with those things by sending a pattern of an electrical pattern to them that tells them basically what to do. And working as central or peripheral, you have a master in, slave out. Master out, slave in, they send messages back to the microprocessor, and that's how that works. The next level after that is the firmware level. Has anyone written firmware? It is my least favorite part of building a hardware company. I thought the hardware part would be difficult. When I write firmware, I remember, if you're a software developer, remember what software development was like before the internet. And that is what writing firmware is like. It's really difficult. So this is the type of stuff that we have to write. So this is a layer on top of what I just showed you. And basically, this tells you what communications are going master in, slave out, and vice versa. So if we're sending messages from our microprocessor to our LED, or from our button to our microprocessor, this is the function that we're using. So the thing about working, I have 15 seconds, I'm going to make it. So actually, I'm not going to make it. The thing about working with kids was we had to build something that they can code on a device that we couldn't fit a compiler on. Yes, Ruby and Python and JavaScript are much easier to learn. However, we didn't want to put a VCR on their wrists, so we had to figure out an easy way to write C. So we built them functions like LED.turn-on and LED.setLight pass in a color. And then we gave them standard colors to work with, like yellow and pink and magenta and orange. And so when they're at home, they don't see the really esoteric parts of things. They can easily write for these using Arduino. We've had a 44% conversion rate of users to coders, which is crazy, so much higher than we anticipated. We're about to hit our 10,000 unit shipped. That means We started shipping in November. In our first year, we've almost made 5,000 tiny little coders running around the world. And we do a lot of in-person events, which if you have kids, it's the most magical thing being in a room with a bunch of 10-year-olds writing C and being so crazy excited about it. We're an open source project. Everything from our PCB to our firmware to our iPhone app to our website, everything is open source and on GitHub. So if you want to help out, here's how you can get started. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Awesome. How did you get to 10,000? What was the distribution strategy to get to so many units sold? Yeah,
that's a good question. So I think that this is really cliche, but the network effects of the device, of an in-person device, actually works. So we see that when we ship units to a city or to a certain town or a school does an event, we'll see a lot more orders in that area because kids show up at school and the other kids see them and they're like, ooh, that's exciting. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
And do you sell them in pairs or meaning, so you sell them individually and then kids buy the other one because they saw it, but two because they want to be able to communicate? Or do you sell them in two? Or?
We sell them 1 packs, 2 packs, 3 packs, and 10 packs for schools. And our biggest seller is our 3-pack.
Very good. All right. Do we have questions? Maybe then tell us about the team. Who does what?
Yeah, we're super, super tiny. We're also, to speak a little bit about the talk before me, we're a company that makes more money than we spent. That's how we fund ourselves.
Oh, sorry, I'm a VC. I'm trying to wrap
I know,
my
it's really
head around
wild.
this.
But we're a pretty small team. There's 4 of us. We have an office in the Lower East Side.
Great. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So we sell them for $69 for 1, $99 for 2, $129 for 3.
Very cool. What are you building next?
So we're working on version 2. This guy's, very long story short, when we first started talking to kids, we'd see, especially kids in more affluent schools, would wear the jawbone up and things like that, and we'd be like,
well, you beat those guys now.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, we'd be like, well, why are you wearing or how many steps did you take? And they'd have no idea. And we'd be like, well, why are you wearing them? And they'd be like, well, it's like a wearable, it's cool. And we'd be like, okay. But now when we talk to them, they are tracking their steps as they're competing. So the biggest thing we're adding is an accelerometer and kind of making it more sleek looking and things like that.
Anything that surprised you? Anything that you thought was going to be very hard turned out to be easy, or anything that you thought was going to be very easy turned out to be really hard?
Yeah, the 44% conversion rate. I really didn't think. I thought we were coming to them with something really hard, and that they wouldn't want to write code, and that we'd start with a 5%, and then we'd always be figuring out a way to get that number moving. But it turns out they really love it, and they're really good at it, and that's wild to me. That's really neat. They're pretty fearless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, actually, 2 questions.
Just a quick one. I was intrigued by the Jewelbot. So what kind of bots do you have planned and what they're gonna do? I think that would be really cool.
What kind of Jewelbots?
Bot. Did you mention that you're planning to have a little bots in addition to the device?
No, these guys are called Jewelbots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a coder, so I don't know about that. But what kind of interface do these teens use to learn code? And do you have your own software paired with this, or is it something else?
Yeah. Have you heard of Arduino? So it's an open source, basically development environment they could write. It looks like a notepad almost, and we have documentation and videos online that they learn from. They also have a community that they go on and they share the things that they've written, so they can all just, copy paste and change variables and things like we all do with Stack Overflow. So there's a bunch of resources for them, and then the development environment is just, like a small text editor, and then they, hit upload and it uploads onto the device.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.